It's the holiday season, the end of 2023. This year, my channel has been a real variety show as I've been building my watch collection, developing watchmaking skills, and having lots of fun and adventures with a love of wristwatches as the central theme. Some of the stories to follow have been on the channel, some probably never will, and the rest are teasers of what's to come. They all serve as wonderful memories of the past year, and as always, I am sincerely grateful for all of your comments and support along the way. With that, here are my favorite Watch with Mike moments of 2023.
I started off the new year by dropping off my 1972 Omega Speedmaster Professional Mark II at the Omega Boutique so it could be sent to Switzerland for a complete service. I did a comprehensive before video so we'd have something to compare it to when I got it back. Spoiler alert, it took 9 months.
I have this Seiko dress watch which I was trying to get going just by putting in a battery and cleaning it up, but it wouldn't work when I put it all together. So we got a new movement.
I continued my quest from the previous year to get all of my vintage quartz watches cleaned and running. This was my first movement replacement, and with a few snags, it came out great.
Do we end in focus? Yes!
Not all projects go as planned. This is a promo for my rebuild of a 1955 Longines that I never got to launch. I was so close to finishing when I snapped the regulator pin off the balance assembly. I bought a new old stock regulator arm, got it back together,
put it on the time grapher, very high beat error,
and then bent the hairspring calibrating the watch. Such is watchmaking. It's a beautiful timepiece, and I look forward to returning to this project in the new year.
Can you get a good mechanical watch for less than $150? I'll bet this Seiko will make you say yes.
Now, I'm not a watch review channel, but I love photography. In 2023, I've continually tried to up my video production skills. This Seiko Recraft 70s-inspired wristwatch has some beautiful design elements that were just begging to be captured on film. Well, actually on media cards, but you get what I'm saying. As I'm sure you know, luminous paint is used for wristwatch hands and dials and is something new to me. This is an inexpensive set of lume powders, and I started experimenting with different binders. Before replacing the lume on a watch, I practiced on anything I could get my hands on, and had some fun along the way. I made 2 watch cleaning videos in February, one showing basic and inexpensive cleaning supplies and techniques, and a second video highlighting my new ultrasonic watch cleaning setup using L&R cleaner and the 3-jar method.
Looks like pee, smells like pee.
I'd love a big fancy cleaning machine one day, but for now, this setup works great. Question: can you use an industrial audio and videotape eraser to demagnetize watch parts?
But I'm gonna keep the plastic cover on. I'm gonna bring this underneath the desk, demagnetizer on. Holy smokes.
It worked, but do it carefully. This was a fun project. I refinished a late 70s Hoyer stainless steel dive watch case and was determined to recreate the radial brushed finish just on the face and lugs. After masking the stay shiny surfaces, it was Rodico to the rescue as I hand applied the micro scratches with a Scotch-Brite pad. Wonderful. I couldn't be more pleased. Remember that Omega I sent to Switzerland for service in January? Well, I got impatient.
Hi, this is Mike. I decided to come here to Switzerland to see if I can get them to hurry up my watch. Let me just ask somebody on the street, excuse me, sir, do you know how long it takes for Omega to fix a watch?
It can range from 3 to 9 months, depending on how complex it is.
Hey, it's Dayton Taylor from I Shoot Watches. He's my first guest celebrity on the channel. You couldn't meet a cooler, nicer dude than Dayton, and you should definitely check out his channel.
Together we have 118 years of experience, just not in watchmaking.
Yes.
Whether you call it Skagen or Skagen, A good friend of mine tried to replace a crystal on his watch and almost called it quits. At this point, I'd been working on watches for less than a year. I don't often fix watches for other people, but this one had sentimental value for him, and it felt really good being able to fix it. I think it came out great. If you are working on mechanical watches, then eventually you will need to rewind a mainspring.
No, that is definitely not holding on.
So I purchased an inexpensive set of mainspring winders, but the finish and fit was not that great, and I ended up making a mess of things.
That's my new mainspring.
Oh well, lesson learned. Maybe it's worth getting a good set sometime in the future. This may well be my favorite watchmaking story of the year.
And she says, "Oh, do you mean our box of $3 watches?" $3 watches? Did she just say box of three? Did she just say box of $3 watches?
Yes, in my search for project watches, I found a store with a plastic tub filled with $3 wristwatches.
The brand name, Adrienne. That's my sister.
It was an eclectic assortment, and every watch I bought put a smile on my face.
It has a Sheffield 17 jewel manual wind wristwatch.
This Hamilton was so wrapped in cellophane tape that I almost didn't recognize it. You'll see more of it in a few minutes. Here's another bargain watch surprise. This glycine was in rough shape, but when I opened it...
Oh! Oh, wow! The movement is all gold.
This ETA 2408 movement is lovely, and I'm hoping to give it a new life in 2024.
Just wow. It is a beautiful, crisp, dry, almost summer morning.
There's nothing like a summer drive in a convertible to a flea market to go bargain wristwatch hunting. I did several such cruises this year, met some wonderful vendors, and picked up a really nice assortment of project watches to fix up and add to my collection.
This is the watch that sparked my interest in watch repair. Not because of the model, but because it was my dad's.
Okay folks, I was finally feeling confident enough to restore my father's 1953 Bulova. Check out what I found that had completely stopped the watch. I don't think it's supposed to be there. What just happened? The watch gave birth to a tribble that was causing all of our trouble. But this was no cute and cuddly tribble. I did a 3-part series on diagnosing the problems, doing a complete service, and restoring the case. It came out great, and I know my dad would be proud.
Oh, and look at that delicious golden shine.
With what I learned from restoring the Bulova, I decided to give a light case cleanup to the Hamilton you saw earlier, and try my hand using polishing sticks to restore this deeply scratched custom crystal. After aggressively going through the grits, I finished the crystal off with a few courses of polywatch. I love polywatch. And wow, what a huge difference! I'm really looking forward to servicing and restoring this vintage timepiece in the near future. Hey, did I mention I found it in the $3 mystery box? Here's a flea market quartz watch I picked up for a few dollars. I wasn't digging the dive watch vibe, so I removed the bezel and gave the case a deep polishing. I replaced the scratched and chipped mineral glass crystal. This watch is really shaping up. The watch looked naked without the bezel, so I removed the bezel insert and reinstalled the bezel without the ratchet spring so it would turn like a fidget spinner. I auditioned a few steel bracelets before settling on this racy silicone strap. I love how it came out, and it became my favorite kick-around watch, which I wore all summer. I really wanted to try this hack for polishing sterling silver that I saw on TikTok. I don't have many watches with sterling silver cases, but I have to say this trick worked quite well. One fine flea market morning, I returned home with these two citizens, and dirty citizens they were. I have to tell you, I love cleaning watches, and both of these watches needed that love.
happens if I scratch it?
But I gave this one a little too much love. Whoops! Lesson learned. This Citizen EcoDrive titanium model wasn't running, was filthy, and the spring bars were rusted in place.
Yes.
But after a thorough hand cleaning, 2 ultrasonic baths, and some sunlight to reactivate the solar cell, this watch is near perfect, and is now one of my favorite everyday watches.
Today we're going on a wristwatch road trip to Angus Antiques in Adamstown, Pennsylvania.
But the weather started getting rough. My tiny ship was tossed.
Heavy rain possible.
If not for the promise of a wristwatch haul, my courage would be lost. I eventually made it.
Look for the hanging pink pig.
The place was huge. I eventually found Bonnie's shop, and she introduced me to Jerry, who sold me some cool vintage wristwatches.
A Walkman, and this one says it's made in France. A self-winding Benris, a Gruen, Raquetta, made in USSR. That's my haul for the day.
If you're into collecting or servicing old watches, I highly recommend getting a Geiger counter. Some watches I thought would be radioactive weren't.
There we go.
And some that I didn't suspect were. I wish I knew how radioactive my dad's Bulova was, but I didn't disrupt the loom, so it's probably okay. But now I know, and if you have a Geiger counter,
wow,
you'll know too. Do you like gadgets? Of course you do! I couldn't resist getting this Victorinox Swiss Army knife with a dedicated watch opening blade. My first project with it? A licensed Warner Brothers Marvin the Martian mood watch. Learn how to detail a mechanical wristwatch from blah to bling. In August, I really concentrated on stepping up my refinishing skills. This Bulova automatic was a fun project, and I learned what it means if a watch is adjusted to 6 positions.
6 specific conditions. 1 and 2 are for heat and cold. Adjustment number 3 is for isochronism, a measure of the watch keeping consistent time whether the mainspring is fully wound up or wound down. And adjustments 4, 5, and 6 are the 3 positions that the watch is calibrated in: dial up, dial down, and 1 or more adjustments with the watch oriented crown up, crown down, crown left, or crown right.
Check it out, it's a set of new Bershon mainspring winders. The set contains 2 handles, one for right and one for left hand wound springs, 5 winding drums, and right-handed and left-handed winders for each drum. These feel so much better than the inexpensive set I bought a few months ago. These weren't cheap, but you can feel the quality, and I think they'll last forever. Here's a cool sports watch I picked up this summer. You might think the analog hands get in the way, and sometimes they do, but check this out. Hold down the mode button for 3 seconds and this watch considerately moves the hands off the subdials. Press and hold again and the hands happily return to the correct time, showing exemplary good manners despite being known as an absolutely tough timepiece. Speaking of sports watches, this Timex Ironman Triathlon had a problem. It's going crazy, so I tore it down to find what's wrong. It was fun finding the problem, and now it's running, swimming, and cycling strong. I really enjoyed refinishing this 1977 Citizen automatic wristwatch. Take a look at that dial. Wow! I wet sanded by hand and polished the case parts on my mini buffer, which has quickly become one of my favorite power tools. I masked the case and applied a brush finish to match the watch's original design. New crystal? New crown? I'm really feeling much more confident about my watch repair skills, and I couldn't be happier with how the refinish turned out. Up to now, I've done several stainless steel cases on the buffer, but I was hesitant to polish rolled gold. In this video, I tried different buffing compounds and also polished a crystal, and I'm very happy with the results.
All I could say is wow.
This is part 3 in the story about getting my 1972 Omega Speedmaster Professional Mark II serviced.
It's September, and after 9 months in Switzerland for service, my Omega Speedmaster is back. New dial, new crystal, new hands, new bracelet. It looks fantastic. I was sad that they said the case could not be polished, but you hardly notice given how great everything else now looks, and how well it runs. It seemed to take forever to get it back, but I'm thrilled at the outcome, and I love seeing it on my wrist again.
I just bought my first staking tool. Any guesses where I got it?
The staking set was the next step for me in my watchmaking. With it, you can separate and assemble small watch parts, adjust and repair the main plate, and so much more. As with any antique tool, there's nothing like a good cleaning, adjustment, and lubrication before putting it into service.
Everything has a home.
I'm looking forward to learning more about using it and taking my skills to the next level. This fall, I upgraded my digital microscope to a stereo trinocular scope with a 4K video camera. I've struggled with my eyesight doing watchmaking in the past. The new microscope is a game changer. I can now see what I'm doing at a wide range of magnification, and with the right lenses, there's plenty of clearance to work under it. You can check out my 2 microscope videos for all the details. I found several interesting vintage project watches in November, including this Elgin Swissonic electronic watch. The watch uses transistors and a magnetic coil to pulse a balance wheel, which then turns the train of wheel and hands like a mechanical watch. With a fresh battery, I could only get the balance wheel to twerk, but not run. I'm mid-disassembly right now, and I hope to get this watch running and on the channel shortly into the new year.
All right, I think we're in.
In December, I was invited to join a video chat with a great bunch of watchmakers, where we talked about, you guessed it, watchmaking stuff. Everyone was awesome and very knowledgeable. I learned a lot. You probably recognize Chris, Dayton, JD, and Sunny. Please check out their channels for more watchmaking adventures. My most recent project was this 58 Benris dress watch.
Well, that's great news.
But the keyless works were a rusty, frozen mess. Crap be gone to the rescue.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I honestly thought this watch had no future, but I'm glad I didn't give up. It came out great.
And with that, we will end this travel through time. I want to thank all of my new friends that I've made through watchmaking and through the channel, and I feel blessed to have so many wonderful people in the audience. I'm also magnificently grateful to my dear wife, Sarah, for her encouragement, understanding of my wristwatch, tools, and supplies spending, and for her tolerance for me shutting off the heat or air conditioning so it's quiet when I record my videos. I wish you all health and happiness, and I look forward to our next time together.